it's time for me to again make a video because I came across another thing where I could comment where it's very important. So, I have to keep reminding myself that everybody hasn't studied the law part of this, so it's hard for me to put myself back in the position of not having learned this stuff and put myself in your position that you don't know, the basics, what a legal person is or some of these terms. So I'm going to try my best here. And so if you hear me say something and you don't know what it is, just go look at the etymology of the word and you're going to have to research it for yourself. In fact, of course, as always, everything I say, take it within you, use discernment, ask God to help you understand it and whether it's right or not, and not whether it's right, but whether it has truth to it, and research everything for yourself. So let me start here. So there is a comment here by Dumuzi Shep, and it looks to me like Dizumi is pretty open-minded, and although he's not on the Jesus bandwagon, he's more really into Lucifer and knowledge, but no judgments there. I'm just making an observation. And so I was looking on his page, so I came across this comment of his that really clicks, and I want people to come down from, only because I've done this myself, I want people to come down from the whole aliens, fallen angels, reptilians thing, because it's people have, and artists have put ideas out there that are so deceptive. And the reason I can see this is because, or this part of it is, I'm an artist, okay? And he's taking one of my favorite sculptures here. It's just stunning. It's beautiful. Of the fallen angels story coming down into the daughters of men. However, this is an artistic representation, and it gives you the wrong idea if you just look at it, right? Like, artists have a big responsibility because they're conveying messages in visual form, and a lot of times it's up to the viewer to interpret it. However, when you're talking about scripture or history, it can be very damaging if an artist makes an image of something and it's wrong. As in, so I see this often in angels, in cherubim, in the Ark of the Covenant, in other concepts that it's a way of an artist can make beauty out of it, but it has nothing to do with the concept that it was, or the words that are trying to explain it. So, for example, here, this sculpture, the artist is conveying it literally, like angels falling from the sky with wings or having sex with women. That's what the interpretation is of this artist. Although it's beautiful, it's stunning, it's like my favorite sculpture. I just love it. I don't think it's getting to the truth of the matter, because when you break down the words, you'll see the alternate meanings, and I've done this, and I'll show you here. So, angels, we're going to talk about angels, law, sin, and other things. So let's just get into it, because I've taken screen captures and stuff like that, and I'm just going to do this voiceover to them. So his comment was, and it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied in those days. I think he's quoting from the book of Enoch, actually. And it come to pass, and Genesis, like he's quoting from both. So, and it came to pass when the children of men had multiplied in those days, were born unto them beautiful and comely daughters. And the angels, the children of the heaven, saw and lusted after them, and said to one another, Come, let us choose wives from among the children of men to beget us children. And Semjaza, this is definitely from the book of Enoch, who was their leader, said unto them, I fear ye will not indeed agree to this deed, and I alone shall have to pay the penalty of a great sin. And they all answered him and said, Let us all swear an oath, and all bind ourselves by mutual imprecations, not to abandon this plan, but to do this thing. Then swear they all together and bound themselves by mutual imprecations upon it. Okay, so conveniently, they left this out of the Bible for a reason, because that is a very important sentence. If you were just to take the top sentence, you are left with the impression of this statue. Angels with wings coming down and raping women, right? However, this last part really brings it down to earth. And I'm going to explain it here. Okay, so here are my comments. I said, oh, look, it's the story of unlawful Congress. Swearing oath in contract, constitution, to bank the children through commercial intercourse. And how, I know this probably sounds totally strange to you if you haven't studied what these words actually mean. But just bear with me, okay? Because it's crazy. This stuff is crazy. I understand that. But this is what's happening. This is the knowledge they have that we don't. This is the knowledge that they kept from us. Think about it. The law and banking system, we're all slave to it because we're born into this, right? Nobody can escape it. So anyway. Oh, look, it's the story of unlawful Congress swearing an oath in contract, constitution, to bank the children through commercial intercourse and have children, corporate bodies, also known as corporations, with which to offset congressional debt and make the citizens debt slaves. Don't worry, I'm going to explain all this with the meanings of the words after. All the definitions of these scriptural words are in their law dictionaries. And you usually want to look in the Black's Law 5th edition or earlier, because they start to really change things, the 5th edition up to 9 and beyond. They make legal persons in the form of a real man. These are the idols that we're told not to, pay respect to, or persons. They make legal persons in the form of a real man. These are idols. Every time a child is born and registered into admiralty law. You're going to have to research that yourself, but I'll provide some things here to look at. Hell is defined in Black's Law as where the king's debtors are kept. Okay, so that's again banking and debt slavery. I suppose the civilly dead will never resurrect to understand this. And the reason I said that was not to be bitchy. It's to get you to see the meanings of the words, right? Like it's connected. You're not alive. You're not going Jesus's way of life if you're civilly dead. That's what the message is. And then law, if you looked at my other videos, you know law means to lie down. So to resurrect, like Jesus, means to come alive, to come out of all this crappity crap law, to understand this. Same old, same old. So I'm showing that Congress, they're the same fallen angels, which I'll describe later. They're just unlawful men doing the same old thing that they've done for thousands of years. They've kept this knowledge. There's no angels with wings flying around in the air. It's not, or if there is, if we can't see them, that's whatever. That's not even of this discussion, okay? Just put that out. The thing is, we're talking about what the comments said and what the scripture said. So People will never get this scam that they implement over and over until they learn the definitions of satanic legalese, until you learn the definition of these, the etymology of these words that they use, and then look them up in the law dictionaries and the etymology dictionaries and the Greek definition and Latin definition. That's only when you can put this together, is when you know what they're saying, not looking at statues that artists made of a beautiful angel boy having sex with a woman. It's totally deceptive. So Ryan Dupé said, it's different when you read it in the actual language, but I think you get the gist from what it says. There are many other sons of Almighty Creator God, Yahweh, but only one begotten one. They are called Elohim, and some of them had a hand in the creation. Yes, the Elohim, all they are the elites. That's all they are. They're just elite men. They're just men in heaven in a higher position than you. Heaven just means in authority. It means a higher level. Like they, in the know, it means. Okay, and to expand on Uranus or heaven, the legal definition is in authority because it's the spiritual realm of God rather than the legal realm of Satan. So if you're in heaven, you have authority. Okay, so you've heard of a stairway to heaven and how the Babylonians tried to build themselves a tower to reach heaven. Well, this is talking about the heaven, the men trying to get to heaven here on earth. But the spiritual heaven of the spiritual realm of authority over everyone else. So right here is an example of the stairway to heaven, the stairway of the Masons on the path to knowledge and enlightenment. Picture how much knowledge they had, and then the dumb peasants, how they just farm and they know nothing of astrology and math and physics. Picture how easily they could be duped. You know, it's not alien. They must have looked at those knowledgeable ones as aliens because they're just, it's like an ant trying to understand physics and chemistry and math and all these things that the Elohim, the knowledgeable ones, held from them. So the Elohim, these knowledgeable ones, created this whole legal sham system to enslave them. And of course they can be enslaved because they don't know anything. They don't know any better. So there are also cherubim, seraphim, etc. Humans were Elohim or gods. So to an ant, that guy who knows all that physics stuff, and the one who's sitting on the throne with the finery and the clothes and all the knowledge, of course they're gods to them. Those are the Lord gods, the lords of the land. They own everything through knowledge. And they keep everyone as their chattel. Nothing's changed. They're still doing it. Except people are voting for them now. So through their polykratis system. Polykratis means to control or to possess many. Jesus said, don't divest yourself of all that possesses you. So humans were Elohim or gods, but have been corrupted and cut off from their source of eternal life, etc. This guy has a handle on it. He knows. There are spiritual beings that will take advantage of what's happened to humans. I don't know about that, but you have to learn to behave like a god and be attuned with the right frequency to reconnect to your source. Okay, this is kind of true in a way, I think, because although you don't really want to behave like a god, because behaving like a god with a little g means you're going to behave like the Elohim and you're going to go into power over other men. So I do not agree with that, but he is right in the assessment of what's going on here, that they were just like god men who had power over others. So that, so that's good what he said there. except I don't think we need to become like gods. I don't, that would be the Luciferian way. We need to see this, but to come out of it and not lord over other men. And that's Jesus' messages. That's the difference between just the Gnostic knowledge seeker and the one who follows Jesus, right? That is the subtle difference right there. Both have the light. I think that's the difference right there between Jesus and Lucifer. Both bear the light and the knowledge of this stuff, whereas the Luciferian take this knowledge and become as little gods ruling over other men, right? The Masons, the politicians, the kings, the queen, the pope. Whereas Jesus has the knowledge as well, but he uses this knowledge to set everyone free. That is the difference right there. See, I get these revelations right in reading Ryan Dupay's comment. Thank you, Ryan. You just gave me a beautiful revelation right there. Or a way of saying it. I already knew that, but to say it in that way, it just confirmed for me how, because people are confused. A lot of people say Jesus and Lucifer are the same thing. Well, now I'm just kind of getting it. Jesus and Lucifer both bear the light. However, the Luciferians take the light to control others and become little g gods, whereas Jesus uses that light to free everyone. There you go. So nothing is black and white or cut and dry as it is supposed in this day and age. I think that's the influence of the Zoroastrians, which began the idea that there is a distinct eternal line between good and evil. What people call angels and demons have a different morality and are not so cut and dry, good versus evil in the modern sense. It is more along the lines of alliances. Good was considered being with the Almighty Creator God's plan to restore people, and evil was being against, with things being in context. Well, that's what that's what he's saying in a different way, I think, that what I just said about Jesus's message versus the Luciferian message, the good versus evil. You can take the light and you can use it for evil or you can use it for good. So let's go on to my second comment here to Ryan. Yes, so I kind of go into I agree with him and I just expanded on it. So I'm sorry if I come across as a know-it-all in my comments, in that I'm not all put a lot of bullshit, hi there and all this stuff. But, I'm apologizing in this video, but I don't have the time to bullshit and do all that stuff. So, yes, the live man has God working through him. He is Jesus. And that's kind of what I just said there. If you take the light, the knowledge, and you work good, you are acting and walking as Jesus did, so you're Jesus. But if you don't, then you're walking as Lucifer, you go the other way. That's what I was trying to say there, but I didn't have this revelation yet, so interesting. Whereas if you are, so this gets into the legal person. Whereas if you are a legal person, that's the idol, remember, that Satan created, that thing that you identify with that's a dead entity. It's like a facade. It's the personification, the mask that you wear. It's not the live being. The legal person is used to act in their system, to do commerce, to fornicate and have intercourse. So there you go. Whereas if you are a legal person and let Satan's world bank you as a legal fiction, you are not standing as a sovereign spirit of God. You are acting as an animal to be banked. And that's in their legal system eyes. That's how they see it. I'm not saying that because that's fucking insane. But I'm saying that that's how they see it. That's how they created this system. And that's how they justify it to themselves. The whole beast system is based on if you're godless. And that's how they justify their actions. They think to themselves, well, if the goy, the masses, are stupid or wicked enough to be godless, we can legally bank them and profit from it. That's Talmudic. That's, if you look in the Talmud, all their commerce laws and all that, it's basically saying if the Gentiles and the Goyim are godless enough to let themselves be duped and tricked, it's totally legal. And that's what the legal system is based on, the Talmud. And the Talmud is the basis of the UCC and the commercial code and admiralty law and all that bullshit that is unlawful. There's a difference between the law and legalities. Legal is commerce, acts, statutes, the private codes, regulations, legalities, all that crap. Like on a whim, a guy decides that the marijuana is either legal or not legal or illegal. They decide whether the Lord God of the land, the Congress, the lawmakers decide whether slavery is legal or illegal. All that crap is Talmudic, and the law is different than that. However, it is kind of in the same realm because law means to lie down, but there are God's laws which are, you can't break God's laws, which are do no harm. So we do need some laws to live by. It's just the legal system that's gotten out of control. So here again, legal disclosure was given by Jesus in the New Testament. And the Bible is 2 bowls, right? 2 covenants, 2 testaments, 2 wills. It's the will of God, and that is in their system even. The legal disclosure is given in there. And it's also, you can use it as a, this part I get a little foggy on. You can use it as a remedy, like it's, how do you say, admissible in courts of law, except there are no courts of law. They're all banking administrative courts. So I'm not sure. This is the part I'm not too sure about. But I do know that the legal disclosure, like if you were to go in the court of business, well, first of all, there you go. You're not supposed to go into a court because they're all courts of, you'd have to be a legal person, a fiction, to be summoned into a court because you can only summon the dead. So you shouldn't even be, live people should not be going into court. So that is our there's the thing that Jesus came to bring us, to save us from, is that whole system. So I'm not sure how to deal with it, whether you send them a letter and say, sorry, Jesus said I'm alive, I follow Jesus, I'm alive. Maybe it's as simple as that. You just need to send a letter. If you get summoned in a court, you just say, sorry, I follow Jesus' way, I'm alive. And as you well know, only the legal fictions can be summoned into court. So therefore, I can't make it. Sorry. I think that would probably suffice. If what this legal disclosure is telling us is true, that Jesus did save us from all that, that should work. So that's interesting. And there are people trying stuff like this, but mostly in the law movement, they go into court. And that immediately when you do that, you're obviously admitting you're a legal person, and then they have the whole thing right to bank you, right? So there's so much disinfo in the law movement as well, that even those people who try to say all this sovereign stuff and all this in courts, it's like going to the mob and saying, please stop killing me, because you can't go to the mob and ask them that. They're like, well, if you just admitted we have power over you, then we have authority. So no, whatever you're asking, no, it's not granted. So that kind of makes sense to me. So last thing here, it's legal but unlawful. Legal disclosure was given by Jesus in the New Testament, which is a will, that you did not have to be bound by this. You could be free. We all could be free. The truth is coming out at these end times, and I do hope people listen. So that's why I'm making this video. So hopefully whoever doesn't read my comments here, because I think this is very important and I just want to make a video out of it. So let's go into the next thing here. Let's see who Samyaza is in the book of Enoch. And this is the Elohim, right, that he's talking about. These are the Lord gods, the ones who hold the light, who hold the power at the time over all the servants and common people and slaves. Samyaza, Aramaic and Greek, also these other ones, is a fallen angel of apocryphal Jewish and Christian tradition that ranked in the heavenly hierarchy, right, the pyramid, the Lord gods, as one of the Grigori, meaning watchers in Greek. The name Shamyaza means the name has seen, or he sees the name. Now, isn't that interesting? He sees the legal name. Okay. The interesting thing about the second interpretation is there is a tale about Samjaza knowing the explicit name of God and making a deal with a human, Ishtar, to tell her the name. Okay, so down here, possible identification outside the Book of Enoch. Some suggest that Samyaza is most likely another name for Satan. Well, yes, that all the Lord gods are your adversary. If they are banking you and human trafficking you, yes, they're your adversary, and putting you in debt, slavery, hell, then yes, they are your adversary. Who was originally an entity created in the service of God. He was the caretaker of God's throne. But later, okay, so can you see the parallel here of once you give your crown over to Congress, you're giving over your throne to the adversary? Again, it all comes down to your authority, giving away your authority. And it even says in Congress's documents, in the authority vested in us, we do all these things. They're the Lord gods of this time. They're the ELohim of this time. So they were the caretaker of God's throne, but later fell from the heavens, which just means on high, of a greater authority, because of his pride, according to some Abrahamic traditions. Jesus states that he saw Satan fall from the heaven like lightning. Now let's go into what a fallen angel is. A fallen angel is a wicked or rebellious angel that has been cast out of heaven. The term fallen angel does not appear in the Bible, but it is used of angels who sinned, such as those referred to in 2 Peter 2:4. For if God did not spare angels when they sinned, but cast them into hell and committed them to chains of gloomy darkness to be kept until the judgment of angels cast down to the earth in the war of heaven, of Satan, demons, or of certain watchers. Okay, now let's take a look of what sin actually means. From Old English, moral wrongdoing, injury, mischief, enmity, guilt, or a crime, an offense against God, a misdeed. So we're talking about crimes here, of you being judged guilty of a crime. A lot of Christians think sinning is swearing or having too many drinks of whiskey or womanizing. Well, unless you can be found guilty of an offense against God, nobody would think that's an offense against God. It would be an offense against God if you are womanizing and hurting families. Yes, I could see that. Because looking out to your neighbor, if you don't love your neighbor as yourself, you are committing sin, an offense against God. But having a lot of whiskey or swearing and those kind of things, in my opinion, are not sin. They're not wrongful actions. And I wish Christians would take a look at this and think, because if you're under the legal system that is not of God, and you're pointing the finger at each other saying, it's illegal to drink now, it's illegal to smoke marijuana, therefore you do it, you're sinning. Well, don't you see who your Lord is then? Do you see who your little g God is? The system is the legal system that you're under. You're not under God. In fact, you're sinning yourself, because it says in the Bible not to add one jot or one tittle to the law. and all those acts and statutes and codes are all added crap. So if you start accusing each other of drinking and smoking and swearing, and smoking weed is a sin, then you're accusing your brother. You are Satan, the accuser, under the system of legalese. So just something for you to think about. Let's go into more judgment words here. Injury, what does it actually mean? It means harm, damage, loss, a specific injury, and you'll recognize these words from from legal stuff, Law and Order even. And so wrongful action, suits, you've heard of all these things, and insults and unlawful violence, assault, damage, harm. Okay, so that's what injury means. If somebody gets an injury, they say they broke their leg. So it's harm. However, what attorneys see is that's an injury. Cha-ching! And how can I cash in on it? Because we're going to injure them. Injure also means to bring into law. So we can look at just the in part and just the jure and where that comes from. But injure, to do an injustice, to dishonor. And dishonor is another banking term as well, because this all has to do with cha-ching, money for them in the exchequer. So in also means in, into, on, or upon, but it also means the opposite of that, as in not related to in. So it means not, as in an injustice would be not with just or not with law. So in can mean both not, and it can mean something else as well. So we can see that the element in, as well as jury or juris, it comes from jus or ius, means to swear, and it also means law. So it can mean, summed up, this can mean injury can mean either harm, injustice, or it can mean injury to bring into law. So that's what the attorneys say it means when, someone's injured, you and I see, they're harmed, they're hurt. Whereas an attorney sees, they're injured, let's bring them into law, because cha-ching, right? I know this language evokes these images, and all those artists have evoked these images of beings with wings flying around and Satan being red with devil horns, right? And then of course they don't understand heaven or sinning because of all these weird images. It's very epic and poetic the way they wrote back then. But I do believe they wrote this way so that the elites, it's either to deceive us, right? Because if the people knew what was really going on, none of this crap would be happening. It's either written that way to deceive us, or it's written that way to hide it from the elites, from, taking the book away from us so that we can have the knowledge. It's probably a bit of both, but actually I'm leaning more to written, translated this way in order to deceive us. Because once you understand all this, you have resurrected and you live the life way, and you're not under their authority anymore, and that means they have no power. You're basically throwing Satan into the lake of fire, which is judgment, right? People are calling on YouTube comments to throw these Congress people and the president and everybody into judgment. They're saying, put them in jail. It's time to try them. It's time to, this is unlawful. People are calling for it now. Jesus is resurrecting. They're coming out of the lawmakers' delusional system. They're waking up to it. They're resurrecting, and they're calling for Satan, their adversary, to be thrown into the lake of fire. And fire means judgment. So isn't this amazing? I mean, It's, you learn the definitions of the words and you know what's actually going on. Fallen angel. So, angel, now we're going to look at watchers, the Grigori. The reference to heavenly beings called watchers originates in Daniel 4, in which there are three mentions, twice in the singular, once in the plural, watchers. So these are the holy ones. So that can mean they were either, either put in a position of power as holy ones, or they actually are holy. But the holy, if they are actually holy, they wouldn't be doing this to us. So that's why they're fallen. Right? They're holy because they were lifted to this power of authority to rule nations. That is a high office of God. However, they fell because they've done this to us. My dog wants to go out. So the Greek word for watchers is that, literally wakeful. So the watchers literally just means the awake ones. So does that mean us? The book of Enoch is very important because it talks about the watchers, the holy ones, and how they fell. So the first Enoch, a Jewish story of angels coming down to earth rather than being cast down, referred to as the story of angelic descent, is found chiefly in the Jewish pseudepigraphic book of Enoch and the Qumran book of giants, blah, blah, blah. These watchers became enamored with human women, and we're going to go into the definition of this, and had intercourse with them. That's not what you think it means. The offspring of these unions, all right, children of these unions, and the knowledge they were given corrupted human beings on the earth. That's it right there. A number of apocryphal works, including Enoch, link this transgression with the Great Deluge. All right, now we're just getting to what that Great Deluge means. Guess what Congress means? Congress, the word con means with, transgression. So look at this. A number of apocryphal works, including Enoch, link this transgression by these ones in high office with the Great Deluge. Where have you heard about a transgression of men in power in the office where they screwed over their people? Right, Congress. Okay, what does transgressing the law mean, and what does transgression mean, or transgress or congress? Transgression, particularly that relating to Adam and the fall. Okay, a transgression of the law, a going over, a going across. So basically, Congress is skipping over the law, stepping across, stepping over, climbing over to go beyond, and it's a walk. Okay, so then we have con. We're going to take apart con and gress. Con, to swindle, okay, we know that. But con dash, meaning the words formed with, that means with. So it means with gress. So we can also look at the words aggression, transgression, progression, and that sort of thing. Contract, conductor, and then we have progress, and so to gress means it's like an action to go. So congress, actually congress is meeting of armed forces. Sounds very much warlike to me. A coming together of people or a meeting. And then we have a friendly meeting, a hostile encounter, right? So because they bicker with each other. Meet with, fight with, but it means together and to walk. So it's basically to get together and act, okay? Like it's like a male principle, like to do, to meet and to do. So then we look into act, to act upon or adjudicate. Then you can go look up judicate. It relates to law again. Then a legal case, also in a theatrical sense, acting, which anybody who's in the know knows all this players are just actors on the stage, right? All these guys are just playing their part as actors. An act, an official document, a thing done. This is what Congress does. And then in Articles of Confederation, the United States of America legal entity is defined. This is a style. A style is a device for climbing. It's a ladder. That's what they use to act. And then at the bottom there, you see style. Writing instrument, pen, stylus. So there you go. That shows you exactly what Congress is. So I advise you to look up these words for yourself and put these pieces together, because it really, really does make sense. And then it goes right back to the book of Enoch, where it describes the fallen angels and who exactly your transgressors are. Next definition is intercourse. This does not mean sex. Okay? Intercourse, from Latin, Old French, means exchange and commerce. Late Middle English, denoting communication or dealings. So if you're having dealings with a person, that's why you say with legal persons have dealings with each other through commerce, right? This is all written in their legalese, their commercial codes, all that stuff. It's all there. From Old French, intercours, exchange or commerce. From Latin, intercursus, interquere, intervene, to come between, or to run. So you could think of running for Congress. You could think of intervening between you and God, right? People have vested the power in Congress, the transgressors, in between them and God, because they've made Congress their authority for them, instead of having their own government, which is mind control, having control of their own mind. They have appointed Congress to do that. Here is more proof. The specifically sexual use arose only in the late 18th century. So, sorry, the book of Enoch is not talking about having sex with men or women. It's talking about intercourse, dealings with communication. And the word angel means messenger, or someone who comes to say. So, next definition. What's an angel? So an angel comes from the fusion of Old English engel and okay, that brings me to another. I know in other videos I've spoken of the names of these people in office. Barack Obama, which is like in the Hebrew, as lightning from heaven. That's what that means. John McCain, as in Cain and Abel. Then there's Angela Merkel. Here is another like ecclesiastical sounding name. I just find that's very interesting that all the ones in power, not all of them, but they have, their names have meaning, let's put it that way. Okay, so Angel with a hard G, Old Fresh, Angela, both from Latin, from Greek, so it means a messenger or an envoy or one that announces. So also a mounted courier, swift. This relates to Mercury too. Mercury has to do with communication and swift messages and stuff like that. Used in scriptural translations for Hebrew, Malak, Yahweh, messenger of Jehovah. So there you go. The angels were the messengers of the Lord God. So if you take that back to that guy's comment, the fallen or the lawless people are, well, let's do that at the end after we've gone through all these.